Alright, guys. So, recently, Daniel Craig was promoting the new James Bond movie on a podcast, and he said some very controversial remarks. Here they are. Someone asked him if a woman could play James Bond. He said, "The answer to that is very simple. There should simply be better parts for women and actors of color. Why should a woman play James Bond when there should just be other parts just as good as James Bond, but for a woman?" Guys, what Daniel Craig means here is basically James Bond is inherently male, and you cannot make James Bond a woman unless you change the DNA of the character. If you make James Bond a woman, it just becomes a different character. And all what this is a different character with the same franchise, and it just is gonna be a cheap gimmick. Let's go over why James Bond can only be male. Some movies, now get this folks, this is not very controversial. Some movies are made for men, and some movies are made for women. James Bond is the male fantasy. It's a man who drives sporty vehicles, travels the world, kills people, and fucks bitches. That's James Bond. That's why James Bond was popular. Now, does that mean women can't enjoy James Bond? Of course not. Mean Girls is an inherently female film. It's about being a girl in high school. That said, I can still appreciate it. I still think Mean Girls is a pretty decent comedy. I probably don't connect to it on the same level as a woman does. Therefore, I'm not asking for a studio to make a male version of Mean Girls. Another movie that made me think of that was the movie Midsommar. Now, the movie Midsommar, to be honest, I didn't really like it. But then when I started talking about the movie Midsommar with my friends, I noticed that all of my female friends really connected with the movie. And then it dawned on me, this movie is made for women. It's supposed to connect with women differently than it connects with men. The movie is basically a breakup revenge story. That's what Midsommar is. And when I was talking to my friend about it, she was like, yeah, I really liked the movie because I was going through a breakup at the time. And that's when I realized, wow, this movie was made for women. That's pretty unique. You don't really see movies these days that are made for uniquely women, especially not horror movies. So that's what I mean. Some movies are made for men, and some movies are made for women. Now, it doesn't mean that women are lesser than men or men are lesser than women. It's just that men and women tend to have different things that they like. I'm sorry, we're all biologically a little different. Our brain chemistry is a little different as well. But I'm not begging for a Mean Girls male version. I think that wouldn't work. I'm not begging for a Midsommar male version because I think that wouldn't work as well. I think you can't make James Bond a female. It just doesn't work as well. That male fantasy just gets lost in the process if you make the main character a woman. What I wrote here, stop seeing movies and start watching movies. I feel like people are so obsessed over demographics. Now, are there too few roles for black people? Yes, that's a given. You go watch an Avengers movie, the only time there was a superhero of color, it was Black Panther. All the other ones, Captain America, white dude. Iron Man, white dude. Thor, white dude. Hulk, white dude. Ant-Man, white dude. They're all white guys, except Black Panther. And they're all men, except Black Widow and Captain Marvel. So obviously, the scale is favoring white men. I'm not debating that. But what are these movies about? They're more than just the demographics. And I feel like when people say, well, let's remake this, but with a black person. Let's remake this, but with a woman. I feel like that's not a pitch, in my opinion. A pitch to me is something like, hey, let's make a Superman movie, but this time he lands in Russia. And how would communism affect Superman's life? That to me is a pitch. I heard someone say that as a pitch, or there's a comic book about that. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. To me, let's make Superman, but now he's black. Unless it's about like black people in America, how they struggle and stuff. That would be interesting. But other than that, not much interest to me. They're making The Rocketeer, but now it's a black guy. And that seems to be the pitch. And I wish they made deeper stories if they're gonna go down that route. But whenever I see a headline, the headline is Rocketeer recast but with a black actor. And I'm like, is that your pitch? Is that supposed to make me excited? You're just changing the demographics of a character. I can take any old script and change the demographics around. To me, people who go around and say, oh, just make James Bond but with a woman, all you're doing is changing the demographics. This is stupid. Stop doing it. It's not creative. Film is creativity. There's nothing creative by doing a gender swap. Like, that's some shit you do in high school where the jock who has zero sense of humor is gonna show up on Halloween in a dress and he's gonna be like, tee-hee, isn't it funny that I'm a woman? That's like the lamest frat boy high school humor you can do. Gender swapping is creatively bankrupt. I hate it. It's just dull. Lastly, if they did go down the route of making James Bond a woman, I can't help but wonder, would they go down the route of moral superiority? An audience that pays money to go to a theater. Theaters are expensive these days, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna pay like $20, $30, $40 at the movie theater if you include like your kids or your girlfriend or your snacks. And then you arrive in the theater, and let's say you're watching the female Ghostbusters remake, and there's that part where they're obviously talking down to you and being like, wow, men are stupid, revenge, and they shoot the Ghostbuster logo in the dick. When you pay money and just get reminded about how much you suck, that's not fun. And historically, movies have done that to minorities. There have been movies like Song of the South that just picked on minorities. That's not right. That's disgusting. And I hate the fact Disney tries to hide that disgusting past of theirs. That said, two wrongs don't make a right. And just because historically movies have portrayed negatively black people and women, I don't want to see it happen the other way around. The correct solution is what Daniel Craig is suggesting here. Just make better roles for black people, make better roles for Asian people, make better roles for women, and this won't be an issue. James Bond can continue being a male, and women can have their own heroes to look up to. But yeah, to me, this is all just a bunch. Like, how do you even make a female not Ghostbusters, sorry. How do you even make a female James Bond? Do you just make her like a raging lesbian that's going around and... I mean, it's basically going to be Atomic Blonde, which that movie was... Meh. It wasn't a James Bond movie. It was pretty boring. I don't know. I'm not saying women are incapable of doing action movies, but what I'm saying is that you don't have to do the basic gender swap or race swap. It's so creatively lazy. Have fresh ideas. To me, Ocean's 11 but with women is not a pitch. It's a change of demographics. You're not putting a clever spin on it. If you were to say, hey, it's Ocean's 11, but this time they're doing something completely different, I'd be like, whoa, you have me on the edge of my seat. Changing the race or the gender of a character is so lazy to me. And guys, you have to see through the shit. Look at this through the shit. These companies, all what they're doing is taking the script of something that's beloved and erasing the word male and putting the word female. Do you know how cheap and easy that is to do? But we fucking fall for it. Stop falling for it. All what these studios do is making it easier for them to write scripts. Do you think they really care about women? Do you think they really care about black people? Guys, Disney is erasing black people from the posters. The movie Black Panther, when it came out in China, they put a mask over the black person's face because they didn't want to show that there's a black actor in this movie. That's not progressiveness, okay? It's laziness, okay? So I hate it when these companies are trying to come at me with the moral superiority, when meanwhile, they're just as guilty, if not more guilty. Guys, that became a rant. Whew, I needed to vent a little bit. But yeah, James Bond doesn't work as a woman, what can I say? Yeah. That's all I gotta say. Cancelled.